So this is Bushrangers Bluff, a fairly spectacular little cliff face with a massive overhang up there. What we're going to try and find is actually a plaque for somebody who died here, and they actually fell. There was a group that he was instructing at the top of about 10 or 12 people, I think, and there was a group down at the bottom here, about 10 or 12 people, and another fellow instructor was down here with the other group, and the person up the top, the instructor at the top, was giving them a demonstration of how to throw a rope so that it doesn't what we call bird nest, get all knotted up on the way down. He wasn't tied in at the top, and he lost his balance when he threw the rope over for a demonstration and free fell, hitting the bottom down here, and subsequently died very shortly after. But the instructor at the bottom managed to speak to him just before he died, and apparently he just looked up after smashing just about everything in his entire body, including his skull. I don't know how he's still even conscious, but he looked up, and with his last breath he said to the other instructor, "Sorry mate, just one of those things," and that was it, expired. So I'm not going to say whose name it is, because I did quite a bit of work with him, and he was actually a pretty nice guy, but had a lot of demons as well. And quite often when I was working on cliff faces like the one above me, the overhang, I would tie in at the top, and if I did slip, if I did make a mistake, then you were tied in, so all you'd do was just fall until your rope took up the slack in your rope, and your pro would hold you, and you get yourself back up off the ground and sort yourself out. He used to give me quite a bit of grief about being a pussy, tying in, all that sort of thing. And sadly, he ended up meeting his end here because he didn't tie in. So it was pretty dramatic for everybody, the group at the top, and of course the group down the bottom here, who just witnessed somebody free fall about 30 metres, 35 metres, and slam into the rocks below. So that was, needless to say, the end of that program. They had to pack up, and the company had to provide a lot of counselling and expenses, etc., etc. But we'll try and find his plaque. It's somewhere here. I'm pretty sure this is the spot here. So we used to send them over the overhang. Over the cave and then down to here. So it was reasonably easy group management here. And up the top it was a bit of a bowling ball start. But that's why I always tied in. It was just a dodgy place to be working on up the top. Hang on. There's a plaque there. Right. We'll just go around and have a look at that. Bloody rocks. Slippery as buggery after the rain. Gammy leg. Disabled. Wet rocks. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, as I was saying, well, I'll mention the guy's name, Dennis Brown. When I said before about having his own demons to deal with, he's actually an ex-SAS Vietnam vet. Seen quite a bit of action. I think he did a couple of tours. Anyway, yeah, he was a pretty hard man. Nice fella, but hard bloke. They tended to put me with him a lot to work with him, and he used to pay out on me a lot. um, running a lot of safety, having a go at them about this company, about the way that they were setting up and running abseils. They usually used a bottom brake belay, which is not a good way to go. You don't have a safety rope on the person, and you've got a person down the bottom who actually just pulls on the abseil rope to lock it off on the friction device, the figure 8. Problem with that is if you dislodge any rocks or anything like that, then the person down the bottom who's doing your bottom brake is directly in the fall line of any rocks that are dislodged. So I used to have a go at them about a lot of procedures that they used to do, because the company was run by a lawyer who was just a dodgy character, and a lot of the staff, most of the staff actually, were all ex-Vietnam vets and mostly SAS. So they had their own ways of doing things, and when I came out of a career and commercial, when I came into the company as a career and commercial outdoor education qualified instructor, I started to pick on a lot of the procedures that they used. In particular, one of the things that Dennis Brown was doing, which was using splitting the rope and throwing both halves at the same time, and that's why he lost his balance. And whilst that's not a bad technique, it's not a bad method to stop the rope from crow's nesting, bird's nesting on the way down. It throws all your weight forward and you lose your balance, and that's exactly what happened. And when I used to have a go at him about this, I used to say, mate, you're going to get in trouble doing this. Anyway, he didn't listen, and he'd give me a fair bit of grief about telling him what's safe or what's not, and me doing the things that I thought, that I knew were safe, etc. So anyway, poor bugger. He fell off that cliff, and one behind me, and died. So, and this is the plaque. In loving memory of he who dared. Dennis R. Brown died 11th February 1990. And the irony, he who dared, there you go. It's the motto of the SAS. So the irony of this story is that even after I'd had words with the instructors, the senior instructors, even the owner and head, the CEO, the lawyer, and told them they need to change their procedures and safety methods, I was trashed, I was vilified, and so I quit. And in fact, I walked out in the middle of a job because they left me high and dry without equipment, without my instructor, etc., etc. And it was just unacceptable, so I left. And so that was only about 3 weeks before Dennis died. Not only did Dennis die from that horrible accident, but it was only about 2 weeks after that they had a client who actually sustained serious head injuries because they were hit by a falling rock while they were bottom brake belaying. So everything I warned them about, everything that I was vilified for, everything that they paid out on me for trying to bring up, ended up happening, and the company ended up collapsing because they ran up a fortune in compensation bills, legal bills, etc., etc., and hardly any clients would come for their business anyway. So anyway, sad, very sad, totally avoidable. I'm still here, I don't think I did anything that was any less ridiculous than, any less challenging than Dennis did. Just that I put some safety measures in place. He didn't. Anyway, wherever you are, Dennis, I hope it's better than where you came from, poor bugger. Sad, but there you go.